Hi, I'm the administrator of Smellycraft.com. My name's Adam, you can call me Smelly. Today we're going to go through some loot tables, and I'm going to show you how to build some more advanced loot tables to help further customize your server, introduce some variety, better add some flavor to the adventure, and hopefully some themes. So there's a lot of tools that you can use to make this easy. In some ways they may make it hard, so I'm going to help you avoid some pitfalls too. The first website we're going to go to is Planet Minecraft. You may be familiar with it. It has a page for Lexer Donington's loot table generator. Now, it's actually classified as a Minecraft mod, but it doesn't go in your mods folder. You don't need Forge to run this. It's just a program to run on your computer. Now, you'll see me run it in Linux. It's actually been designed specifically for Windows, so you'll get a better user experience than I will. It should look more similar to what you see on the web page, and the web page does have a lot of instructions that I won't go into great depth on. Some things I won't touch on at all, so I do recommend to give it a good read if you intend to use it for a long time. So I'll go back to another tab to help us focus today and bring up the actual loot table generator first. This is where we're really going to start working on our actual files. Now, I clicked this square to bring up this window here. You're only going to see this when you first launch it, and this chest GUI is your first pool. Now, what pools are and how they function is a topic we'll cover in a couple of minutes. But first, I want to go into this dialog for the first item, and you can add pools and switch between them with this button later. And add the first item. Now, when you click this button, you'll get a list of items, and if you install the program with its accompanying folders in the same directory as the jar file, you should see the pictures for the items as well to help you choose. There's a search field, so typing SW should give you a list of swords, but it's designed for an older version of Minecraft, so a lot of the items you might be looking for are not there, especially 1.13 items, but some less recent ones as well. So what I like to do is, once I'm absolutely certain what the name I'm using in the new version of Minecraft for the item I want is called, I type it in. You have to select that checkbox to enable this field. It'll automatically populate itself if you don't. If you just use the item dialog, you should get some text here. It may be wrong. So what I do now is because this was filmed in mid-2018, and if you're watching this nearby now, you'll actually have the same problem. So I open up 1.13, open a new creative world, turn on my advanced tooltips with F3+H, and I just look at the actual name I'm going for, and if it needs to be changed, it gets changed. But we're going to increase the minimum count to 1, and you'll see the maximum count is automatically adjusted for us so that we don't put in anything that makes sense or would contradict a possibility, like minimum 8, maximum 7. That wouldn't work, right? So the program will actually keep us from doing that by adjusting these as needed. We'll keep it at a weight of 1, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. But you might want to put some NBT on here for enchantments. Now, if you want to be fast, if you're lazy, let's call it what it is, you can click this button, supply a level of your choosing, and just get a few suitable enchantments that maybe a crafting enchanting table would provide for that level, and it'll just throw them on there. It's perceivable to say that's increased variety, but you can see to that yourself and get more predictable results. And I like loot tables randomness because the results are more predictable for administrators and less predictable for players if you do it right. So let's get some NBT that we would receive from a typical give command generator. That's the best way to get enchantments quickly with lore, etc., is to use a give command generator. There's plenty available online, but they all have a problem that we're going to find out about in a moment now. So that's the first item. Let's add an iron sword just for flavor to give our loot table some meat here and help us demonstrate what it's really capable of. So iron sword, and you'll notice I'm not entering the Minecraft namespace. It's important to have that everywhere you type anything from Minecraft because it helps it differentiate it from similarly named items that could be included in mods, and you don't want them to have any mix-ups. So we'll have one, and we'll give this one a weight of 3. So what does that mean? It's a weighted scale. Add all of the numerators together, and they share a common denominator equal to their sum. So 1 plus 3 equals 4. That means it's 1 out of 4 and 3 out of 4. If we had 3 items that were weighted 1, 3, and 7, it would be 1 out of 11, 3 out of 11, and 7 out of 11, because 1 plus 3 plus 7 equals 11. So that would be our fractions for those items. In this case, you have a 25% of chance of drawing a diamond sword and a 75% chance of drawing the iron sword. Sorry to over-explain it, but I want to make sure it's perfectly clear. Now, we're going to generate this. Copy this to clipboard. Let's have a look at our notepad now. Let's bring up a fresh page. Paste the output. And I don't expect anybody to edit that by hand. I certainly wouldn't. It's a waste of time and energy, and frankly, it's quite frustrating. What you do is you copy this code, and we're going to bring up a new web page now. I recommend this particular one. Feel free to use whichever one you fancy, but this is the quote-unquote, and I agree, best JSON formatter. JSON is the file format that we're going to save our loot tables in. We have to. Paste that in, and what do you see? Parse error. This is the problem I was referring to with our custom MBT. 1.12.2 or earlier generator. First of all, we'll use this ench. Is that what's causing the problem? No. Any loot give command generator is going to neglect to escape the quotes because it doesn't wrap the NBT tag itself in quotes. Now, what do I mean? Let's look at it in a text editor designed for code. Here's the tag. In the JSON file, we have to wrap it in quotes. But what do we have here? We have more quotes. That's a huge problem, and it tells this to try and make sense out of this. You can't. It's not valid. So what you do, and if this is as advanced as we'll get, is you do a backslash to escape your quotes. And I'm sorry if you already know this, but I want to make this accessible for everyone. So backslash your quotes. This is called escaping them, and that's exactly what it means. You escape from them. It tells the JSON interpreter that built into Minecraft that, well, these are not the quotes you're looking for. It tells them not to interpret them with any special meaning, whereas these have a very special meaning. They're meant to group this data together. These are meant to group this data together by an entirely different system. So for now, they have to be treated as though they don't mean anything. So we copy that, and let's try again. Now, typically, you may go back into your loot table generator and just try it from there, because you may feel safer doing it this way. You can choose to just edit the output itself if you know what you're doing. And we'll generate that code again. Let's go back to our notepad here. Let me get this junk off the screen for you. And we want to make sure that we're using 1.13 compliant code. Remember, I mentioned the ench. That's important for 1.13. Now, that's not something you're going to find out by opening the game and looking through the tooltips. This is a bit harder to learn about. You have to go through the wiki. I'll link it to some important pages to give you a good start, but if you find any errors that don't output errors to the console, it could be that. So look for those issues. Now, something looks wrong to me here. Something just looks off to me here. So what I'm going to do is what I'm more confident doing, and I'm just going to throw these in where my eyes tell me they belong. You do whatever makes you feel most confident. There is a number of ways to get it right, and that appears to be more valid code. I'm not sure what was wrong. Let's check that though, because we do have a validator. And there we go. Readable code, editable code that we can actually produce with. And ironically, production code is actually what you see on screen now. That's called production code because it's faster. It actually does take information to code blank space. to reserve space, or for a tab, or for a new line or a blank line that requires data that you're sending to the players. And they're waiting for that resource pack, the tags, the functions, the structures, the loot tables, and the texture packs, everything all wrapped into the new 1.13 data pack to download while they decide if they want to continue waiting to player servers. So the faster you can get that over with, the better. And the more files in your data pack, the more important it is that you use this tool to minify it when you're done. So let's actually work with this code now. I want to show you how to get involved with it and edit it directly so that you're completely confident that you're getting what you want and that you know what you can and can't do. Not just in terms of what's possible for a loot table, but what's relevant to your goals with your map, what you can and can't do to enrich the experience. This will actually give you a visual overview of how you're doing that. Now, first thing I want to go over are the different ways you can code values and counts. You see this pool has a role. It actually could have a number of roles. In this case, it's got one. See how it begins here? And our handy dandy text editor is telling us, hey, it ends right here. That's one pool. Now this square bracket tells us it's a list of items. So if we're going to copy it, and we are, separate them with a comma and paste below. Now we have two pools. They're completely identical. And we can flex a little more creative muscle than that. So let's make this a diamond axe and an iron axe, and watch this. We're going to replace the single integer, the number, with a pair of curly brackets that will allow us to go deeper in and add another layer called min-max in this case. And Minecraft will expect these exact words, min, max, 0 and 1. There's only a 50% chance of you getting anything, let alone diamond or iron. So this means that there's now a 1 in 8 chance of getting a diamond axe, a 3 in 8 chance of getting an iron axe, and a 4 out of 8 chance of getting zip. So that's a way you can get a little more creative, but we're not done. Now, I seem like a jerk when I do that, right? Roll 0, like you're never going to get that. But what if I was to give you bonus rolls? Well, how are you going to get bonus rolls? You have to drink a luck potion. Those are not part of vanilla survival, though. You don't normally get luck potions in Minecraft, but the good news is they are part of vanilla Minecraft code. It's not a mod item. It's not a plugin. You could use plugins to make them craftable, or Denizen script, which I highly recommend. I recommend putting them in as many places as possible, perhaps using loot tables or other means, because they make loot tables so much more exciting. And if you're going to go through all the trouble of adding this kind of extra dimension to your gameplay, then this is something you're really going to want to encourage, the use of luck potions. Watch what they can do. Bonus rolls. Remember, you've got to use quotes. So in this case, if you drink a luck potion, there's a chance you might get a diamond axe. There's a chance you might get 2 diamond axes. There's a chance you get 1 of each. There's still a chance you could get nothing. It's possible that this won't roll at all. There's different ways to accomplish this. Let's look at the first pool. Now, what if you were drinking a luck potion? This doesn't get modified in any way. It could be modified in a different way. Let's add quality. Now, why do they call it quality? It's a fairly good name for it. A diamond sword is high quality, so we'll give it a 3. And an iron sword is low quality, so we'll give it a -1. Yes, negative numbers can work, and they can work quite well. This means that if you're drinking a luck potion and you open this chest, pool number 1, which will roll exactly once, will give you a 4 for the diamond sword's weight, and a 2 for the iron sword's weight, meaning you have a 4 out of 6 chance to draw the diamond and a 2 out of 6 chance now to draw the iron, going from 3 out of 4 iron to 1 out of 3 iron is pretty good. And that's the benefit of a luck potion on my server now. Hopefully you can encourage your players to engage in trading those because they make for a very interesting game. What else are you going to need to know? We tidied this up because, as I hope I mentioned earlier, ench is no longer a valid tag. It is now enchantments, but the syntax in between remains the same. So you know about roles, you know about item counts, you know about minimum maximum counts and how to specify variables in between, and item static counts, you know about weights and luck potions and all that good stuff. We've used multiple pools, but what if you find yourself repeating a pool many times? Say if you find that this block of code is in 6 files, well, programmers have a saying called keep it dry, don't repeat yourself. This is unnecessary for your file size, and it'll add to the issues you mentioned earlier about long wait times for new players in your server. Impatient people will disappear. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. In this case, we would actually put this in a separate file, and we would reference it with a loot table item type. So instead of type item, it would be type loot table. Now, I can't personally recall if it's loot table like that or loot table like that. I know some of these can be different in certain places, and what we're going to use has the first type, the type I know exists. So we're going to actually change the, and let's get rid of the second loot table because it's cluttering up my interface. We don't need it anymore. Let's change this tag here to something more suitable for a shulker box. A bright orange shulker box. Now, you notice this block entity tag. I'm not going to go over all of the different MVT tags. This video would be several hours long, and who would even watch that? You've got a wiki for that. What you really want to focus on as a map maker, though, is its potential, and I got to point it out to you. If you're going to go through all the trouble of, say, building any kind of kits, this is what you're going to need to know. When you have an item in your inventory, such as a chest, it doesn't hold anything. It does have NBT data, but it doesn't hold anything. Now, it could have a list of items with a similar item map, but I prefer to use a loot table to cut back on my file size and not repeat myself. This is all just in one file. And you'll notice I escaped my quotes, and I escaped my quotes here. But I didn't escape this slash because that's actually indicating a directory structure. I'll show you where the files are in a moment, and you'll note they are in a separate namespace. It's not the Minecraft namespace, it's the Smellycraft namespace, so I can avoid file conflicts with other resource packs the player may have on their computer. If they move their files around, or if they run mods that require them to have those things in different places, I may run into file name conflicts, so always use a namespace when you can. But I want to touch on overriding default loot tables because while this can be useful for including a long number of items in a short space, you might wonder about the namespace there. Because at this point, we've got you in a position where you know how to code a world that will procedurally automatically generate unique loot of your choosing according to conditions that are predictable for you but not your players, and well, a lot of fun. You're able to apply enchantments and all that good jazz, but how do you get rid of the bits of string in the mineshaft? The vanilla loot is very disappointing in Minecraft, and there are ways we can change that. Now, if you follow along with me, we're going to go through the file structure here. You see me in the default directory for Minecraft. If you go to the saves folder and open the world, you'll notice that I have a datapack in place ready for 1.13. And I'll open this up and show you how it has to be put together because they're very, very particular about this. If you don't have your folders in the right place, it's not going to find the files that you're telling it to look for. Now, the first folder is the exception to the rule. You can call it whatever you want. It's the name of your data pack. So I chose tutorial today. The next folder has to have this file. It's very easy to understand, and I'll show it to you now. It is called pack.mcmeta. It's got a unique file format, and it's very short. I mean, look at this. You see that number 4, though? Number 4 right there? That is actually the indication that this was written for 1.13. So if you're going to take any loot tables or data from earlier versions of Minecraft resource packs and reorganize the file structure so that it's suitable for a 1.13 data pack, make sure to edit the pack.mc meta file so that it does have a 4 there and not a 3 or something earlier, because then it won't work in 1.13. It won't even load it. So that's got to be updated so that you can do that now. Let's go back to our file structure and look in the data folder. This is where you will find namespaces, as I mentioned earlier. Now, Smellycraft, as I pointed out very recently, has loot tables. That's the whole point. And I have the chests and the kit folder. Those are names I could have, really, they could have been anything. But the key to remember is now that I've chosen them, I have to keep using them in certain places. They are important in some ways. Unlike the loot datapack name, which I chose tutorial, these chest and kit names are more important. You see them used in code right here, for example. And so it's important you choose names that have meaning and that you'll remember for those. But let's actually take even closer look here, because what you need to know is this: the Minecraft loot tables. They have to have these names: chest, entities, and gameplay. Remember, they're within the loot_tables folder. That could be next to a functions folder, a tags folder, a structures folder, and other stuff too. This all goes in the data pack now. And chests is how the Mojang developers have put their NBT together. So we have to mirror that form of structure so that they find our files first. Entities is mob drops. Gameplay is fishing. Now this is where the vanilla Minecraft actually does implement some luck in the fishing table. You'll see here this fishing.json. Let's open that up in our favorite text editor, Notepad QQ. And you see this quality. They actually do have luck in vanilla Minecraft. Now you'll note that the junk becomes 20% less common. Treasure becomes, what is that, 40% more common? And you may have noticed 1 in 85 fish are missing. How kind of them. So that is how they implement luck. It's not a special feature. You don't have to have any plugins to use it. And I certainly hope you do, because it's really a lot of fun. Our file structure is a little more important here. You see the fishing does have 3 tables, so you don't need to overwrite all those 3 tables. If you have a simple fishing plan in place, just overwrite fishing.json and don't query those tables like it does. And you can get away with a little bit of simpler scheme. The only thing about entities is that sheep is a folder for sheep named black, cyan, white, etc. Everything else is just the name of the mob. Endermite doesn't have a drop, so I suggest you start with that if you want to have a little fun. Now, in the Minecraft chests, let's actually open up an example here. Let us show you let's show off my end city. This is what players are going to find on my server if they come all the way to the end city. They're going to find a loot table with many pools. First, they get a choice of 8 kits chosen randomly, and you'll see that the rare have a weight of 3, whereas the epic have a weight of 2. So there is some truth to the scale of rarity. In the easier to access locations, such as villages in the overworld, you'll find that the common have 3, the rare have 2, and the epic don't exist. I want them to adventure. So you can use these loot tables to really encourage player behavior if you put the loot tables in the right places and give them the right names. Now, you find a second pool here. It gives them between 2 and 5 potions. I've chosen witch potions, and they will vary from biome to biome. It does help if you collect a list of all of these locations, put them in an Excel sheet, and then divvy up what you want to offer players according to how you want to change their behavior, and that'll really help you if you want to go that crazy. The next pool will have a couple of spawn eggs for my players. The next pool, one of each. I mean, not one of each, a choice between them. Next pool gives you 1 to 3 mushroom stews, keep you going. Next pool gives you a bonus item, 1 of 3. Lucky players get elytra. Not so lucky players get dragon breath, and you might have to settle for an ender eye, but don't worry, there's plenty of opportunities. And then we have a very, very highly recommended implementation of treasure. I want you to try it this way because I think it's the best way. I can't see a drawback. It's using a separate loot table here. It's in my namespace Smellycraft under the chest folder in the ors.json file. Now, you don't have to type the extension, by the way, so don't do that because I know it works if you don't. I don't know if it works if you do. Feel free to find out. Between 12 and 16 roles. Now, what is a role in this case? Well, it depends what's in the treasure table. So I'm going to pop that open so you can see the ors.json file and understand what I'm using, everything we've talked about here, to save myself from. Because this is the ors table. It's got one of each possible ore, and I made it a bit superstitious just for fun. You see, these weights all add up to 13 if you're just playing regularly, but if you're lucky, they add up to 21. And you're much likelier to get a diamond, lapis, or emerald, possibly gold. Iron is reduced by 1, so you do see some benefits there. And I've worked that into every possible chest. Every chest in every world uses this scheme for the treasure, and that has saved me the nuisance of having to type all of this out in slightly different ways everywhere I go. So use that technique to save yourself as many headaches as possible. You will thank yourself later. And finally, I want to show off one more thing that you may have decided you never wanted to do. I want to change your mind by showing you how easy it can be with the right tools because people love it. We're going to open up the fireworks table. This is something I used a program to create, and that program is online at digminecraft.com. It's the fireworks rocket generator. This, of course, is built for 1.12. I'm not aware of any data label changes that 1.13's flattening brought to fireworks, so I just take its output for granted. But look at what you can do here. Let's put together Joe the firework. Now, Joseph will be creeper shaped. Okay. And he's going to fade to brown because that's silly. And I feel silly. Add another explosion. Star shaped. And let's just fill in a lot of data so we understand what kind of trouble this program is really saving us from. And yeah. Add another explosion. And flicker and trail. All of that good jazz. And now we've got a big chunk of data. Look at this. This is one firework. I would never bother doing that. Ever bother typing that out. Never in a million years. But what we have now with all of that wonderful automation is a list of about 20 or 30 fireworks that all look good. They're all tasteful. Tested them out in creative. And the player draws from them randomly. I can use them in certain kits. You'll note the title is Artistry Fireworks Table. I have some kits that have loot tables in them, so they can get random dyes, random potion ingredients. They can actually, in one case, and you might want to copy this idea too, back into my Smellycraft namespace. Let's look at the music discs, because I use music discs as bonus items in the chests. For example, the Ender Eye, the Dragon Breath, the Elytra. Sometimes I actually change item to a loot table, and I point it to this. Now, this was originally created for use as part of a kit that was designed to provide entertainment value as opposed to weapons or armor. But I thought, if I'm going to put music discs in other chests, I'll just use this. So again, I didn't have to repeat this code. So use what we've covered in this video today to create very, very, very powerful loot tables easily, without any stress or headache, a lot of confidence. And let's wrap this up. Remember what I mentioned about the best JSON formatter. We're going to paste and minify. Now, it's a lot smaller. It's going to download a lot faster. It's not going to be easy to edit, but if we ever have to, we can copy it here, paste it into our friend, and format beautify, and do what we have to do. So these tools together should really simplify things for you, and I hope to see you creating some pretty cool stuff. You can stream, tune into my stream rather. I mean, you can stream, but my stream is on twitch.tv/SmellyOnionMan, so I will be broadcasting as many of the useful ideas as I can that come to mind. I'll be putting the better lessons into video archives so they can be reviewed later, and I certainly hope you make some use of this. Have a good day. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.